Take a walk down Prairie Street with Elliot Moscowitz. Founder and CEO of PrairieStreet.co, Elliot Moscowitz interviews the most interesting personalities in the Jewish and secular world. Today's guest, acclaimed executive chef and founder of YB Experience, Yossel Backman.
Welcome to A Walk Down Prairie Street, our new podcast series that we've added to our channel with our long-term videos, our short-term videos. And we wanted to have an opportunity to peel the onion, so to speak, to get closer to the people that we're working with on camera. And we've been really lucky the last 2 days that we've had Yossel Backman with us. So welcome to the set.
Thank you. So happy to be here.
Great. So Yossel is 24 years old, a global renowned chef, has traveled to Hawaii, the Caribbean, Europe, Morocco, everywhere you could think. And what's really cool is that he not only travels with these exclusive clients, he actually improvises and makes the dishes based on the local culture as well. So we've had an opportunity to have you on set, make a few recipes for us.
Yes.
How do you think it's gone so far for you?
It's been incredible. It's been amazing. I mean, really, since all the way from the beginning, of our relationship, we've, it's really been a family, which is very much, the way I look at the whole entire food world. It's one big family. Food is a family. Food brings people together. Families are together around the table, around food. So it's really all about a family. So coming in and joining this whole operation, as well as just the whole Prairie Street family in general, has been a really incredible experience. And, I'm a chef and I've used your product, and now I've been on the other side of educating your other customers and your other clients, and it's really just from all perspectives. It's really one big family, and just sharing the beauty and the incredible meat and product with everyone. And sharing it with the whole world.
We've had a great time working with you. I mean, one of our features that we have on our videos is these pro tips that we show. And literally, when we were filming you, I was just seeing like every 15 seconds, like this is amazing information. So tell me, how at this age did you get into this? How did you build a following? How did you teach yourself or learn from? What's your background that at this young age that you had all that experience?
Sure.
Right?
So it all started, I know that you have some Chabad blood in you as well.
I do.
I do as well. My parents are shluchim at the University of Maryland, so I grew up on a college campus, which is definitely a little different, not so typical. And that's really kind of where it all started. I got to meet, entrepreneurial type people, just people studying, people wanting to do good things. And I think that that's really where I kind of got that push in the beginning. And then from the culinary side, I got it from my mother. My mother loves cooking. She makes everything from scratch, breads, cheese, really everything. So that's really where I fell in love with cooking. And then at the Chabad house, we would have hundreds of students Friday nights and over holidays and over Yom Tiv and whatnot. So it was always a lot of action, lots happening, programming. So that's kind of where my love for it all kind of began. Then from there, I eventually moved to New York and I started working in some restaurants, Reserve Cut, Basil back in the day. I moved on to some food trucks. I eventually took a little leap into some Michelin-starred restaurants. And that's kind of really where I, again, started learning the basics, the real technique, and the different ways to use things, different ways to look at ingredients, look at dishes, how to plate, all these different aspects that go into the whole picture of, creating a meal, creating a culinary memory, and experience for my clients today, as well as just in general for anyone. And that same thought process goes all the way through, as well to what we're doing now, which is educational and teaching and learning and putting out these nuggets, like you were saying, with these little pro tips and whatnot. It's the fundamentals of it are just to help people be more comfortable in the kitchen, put out some banging food, and just have a good time. Food is about fun, family, and just getting together. So that's really what it's about.
In a previous podcast with Moses and Sipora, we were talking about quantity versus quality in a Prairie Street. we're very focused on the quality aspect. When you're feeding hundreds of students, and my family is University of Illinois, Champaign, and other universities as well, that's more of a volume game. So how did you make the transition from being a volume chef to being super sophisticated for only 20, 30 people at a time at next level, in effect, kosher Michelin star? How did you make that transition?
Sure. So I started doing larger scale, right? Now I do smaller scale. And what I love about it, what I always loved about the food industry in general, is the hospitality. That's what I grew up with, right? The Chabad house is always about inviting anyone and everyone in, just helping people out. So it's that hospitality, that service, that's what really drew me in. And as I was developing myself and developing my palate, I realized more and more that when you do the larger scale, that hospitality and service kind of gets lost.
Diluted.
Exactly. It's about, putting out the buffet, putting out the meal, putting out the food, as opposed to how can I make this a incredible, thoughtful, beautiful, and delicious experience for the client, for the guest. And that can be, as simple as a little date night, with your wife or with your girlfriend in the house, right? Or it can be, on the scale that I do it and other chefs do it, where it can be 20 people and 9-course tasting menu. It's all about what's the intention behind it, right? And for me, the intention is always the hospitality, creating that incredible experience for someone to walk away and be like, wow, that was incredible, or that was the best bite that they've ever had, right? Or like leave them with something that they can walk away with and be like, that was super amazing. And that's exactly what you're doing as well with taking these videos. It's not just, an iPhone, it's a full-on production, with an amazing crew. And again, that family and just everyone working together to create that beautiful nugget presented in the most beautiful way so that people can actually use it and actually apply it, as opposed to just being a video up on the screen that gets watched once and then goes in one ear and out the other.
So I think something in common that we have is your Instagram is YB__ experience, and our tagline is your luxury kosher experience. So I think we're trying to do the same things, which is it's not just a meal, it's not just to satisfy you, it's to wow you, it's to have an experience that you've never had before that you can replicate on your own, that you don't have to necessarily go to that super fancy restaurant to get done, if they could even get it done in that way. So that's an amazing part, that really it's all about the experience. And it sounds like another thing that's similar is doing these filmings require tremendous amount of pre-production work of exactly how the day is going to be, what we're making, and what we're trying to accomplish. It sounds like in many cases you need to not only know how many people and where the location is, you need to know their personalities, what they're about, and how you make this a special experience. So do you have a similar thing, that even though your time is actually doing the cooking, but that you spend, that's almost like just executing what you've spent an enormous amount of time in pre-production?
So it all starts, as similar to this, it all starts in the beginning, right? And even before the logistics, it always starts with a phone call or a meeting of really getting to know them and building a connection, building a relationship. And I've personally found that within my own journey, there have been clients in the past that I didn't get along with because I didn't give them that time to build that relationship. And that's super important, so that when I get to the kitchen and I'm presenting a dish, I'm not just, a chef in the kitchen, or as I like to call it, I like to be a chef of the dining room, and that really entails understanding service, understanding, the steps of serving, the steps of pouring wine or beverages, soft drinks, hard alcohol, and the different glassware, the different flatware, the plates, and the whole experience. How tall should your flowers be? How low should they be? Your tablecloth, your chairs, taking that all into account as if I'm sitting by that table, right, as one of them. And as one of them changes on every single job, depending where it is, how many people, what are they looking for? What's the value that they want out of it, and how do I provide them with that experience?
And do you tend to have like a lot of repeat clients?
Well, it's definitely a exclusive experience. So different depends what they're looking for each job. But there's kind of two different kinds of clients. There's the ones that are just looking for the convenience food. They're going somewhere, they're traveling, and they just want to make sure that they have good, consistent quality and delicious food, kosher food, obviously. And then there's the ones that are looking for that, crazy on experience. And kind of depending what they're looking for, but I'm definitely a name in the business for when you're looking for something high-end and quality.
So you've traveled a lot in your things, and we did a Hawaiian recipe that you've been there many times. So what would you say, culinary-wise, which areas of the world are your favorites? Even though you're diversified and you tap from all of them, what would you say your favorites that you love to go back to all the time if you can?
So I really love many different cultures and cuisines. It's really hard to point fingers to one or the other. A lot of chefs are more able to do that, but I've really had the pleasure and really the honor to be able to travel to so many incredible places and see so many different people interact with food differently. And I think that's what really connects with me is, in Sri Lanka, the way people just have these massive bowls on the floor. And like you go to like a rest stop on the side of the street there, and you'll have like a table, a family of 6 or 8, and it's not like everybody orders something different. You order, your family bowls of rice and curry, and everyone just eats with their fingers, which in America, we're like, that's so weird and strange, but that's what it is. That's what food is, So that's obviously very different than you go to Europe where, it's much more fine dining and proper, if you will, and you go to, France and whatnot, where it's every course is like a whole nother table setting, So it's, to me, what really inspires me is that change in culture and how these different communities and countries relate to the food. In the same way you go to Mexico, right? Like the highlight of food in Mexico is street food, right? Like that's what it is. Right. So for me, if I'm creating an experience in Mexico, I'm gonna kind of walk a client through influenced by as if you were walking down the street where you have your mango with chili and lime, and then you'll have your churro, and then you'll have your tacos. You eat an entire meal from appetizer to dessert, but that same thought process, just a little bit more fine dining.
So we've invested a lot in the private chef business. Our specialty is chefs that usually cater to 10 to 40 people at a time, and really not much more because our emphasis is on the quality of that. Do you see this being an ongoing trend? I think COVID definitely accelerated the private chef market, but I think it also turned on a new way of having a holiday than necessarily going with a dining room and having 400 or 500 people there, seeing them 5 times a week is the most enjoyable experience. So now that we're kind of hopefully in the post-COVID era, how do you see the private chef market working?
I see it still, like you mentioned, during COVID, it skyrocketed. It got crazy. And I think it's really going to continue down that road. I think people started looking at food and just the memories around food a lot more intimate and personal. And you'll always have the big events, right? There's always going to be large functions, and those are never going to go away. But I think more and more people are starting to love that feeling of coming home at the end of the day and sitting down with your family, with your close friends, and even like whether it's just grabbing a drink and eating some snacks, or whether it's sitting down for a whole meal, or whether it's in the backyard just throwing some burgers and dogs and steaks on the grill. I think doing that with your close friends and your family is really something it's meaningful. And it's not just another meal, but it's an experience it's a memory. It's something that you'll remember forever. And I think that's what people are going after.
And it sounds like also the way you're creating this experience, you're not back of the house that people are just being served food, you're interacting with them. And I think what also probably makes you more unique than other chefs is your clients have much less flexibility in choosing what they're going to have. That if you're doing the Yossel Backman experience, then you're doing it his way. And I think that's a
well, there's a certain trust that comes along that I've had to work towards and earn, but there's definitely a certain trust that comes along with the name and with my brand and all that
think
comes
it's
with
a
that.
compliment to
is
you.
We want to experience you. What do you have to offer?
Exactly, and I think that's what makes you extremely unique, that the experience isn't the food, it's the whole experience.
The grand
and
experience.
It sounds like, similar to my job, you have an infinite amount of logistics to deal with all the time.
I share your pain.
And especially if you're going to a brand new location that you've never been to.
For sure.
That must be a little stressful to do that, but the clients don't feel that stress, and all they know is when they get there, everything is smooth as silk.
Everything's perfect.
Yeah.
It's as if they're throwing a dinner party in their house in New York. It's no different. That's the way they look at it, and that's my entire goal, and that's my entire purpose, essentially, is to create these experiences where A to Z, they have nothing to worry about. All they have to do is go on vacation and have an incredible time and spend it with the people that they're going on vacation with and the family or the friends, and just enjoy and just simply enjoy.
That's fantastic. I think it's just amazing the work that you do, your disposition, and how you're doing that, and you're showing consistent quality, which is our mantra in a big way.
Which is why I'm here with you now.
And this is why we're dating together, and we're going to go back on set and cook together. But
Yes.
It was amazing. At Prairie Street, one of our longer-term objectives is to be in the private chef business, and that doesn't mean that we're the ones, but we've worked with such class operators like you, that if people say, yes, they want to have these types of experiences, they could contact
Prairie
us,
is the
and we
place.
could hire anybody we need to fill your situation.
it happen.
Obviously, you'd be extremely high on their list if they could afford you and want that kind of experience. So I think that's the main thing.
We're here to work with everyone.
We're here to work with everybody, and thank
Reach
you so
out.
much for taking a walk down Prairie Street with
course.
us, and let's get back cooking.
Let's get cooking.
Okay, thank you
All
very
right,
much.
thank
Take
you.
care.
Subscribe to our channel now and set your notifications so you don't miss our latest recipes and chef-led tutorials. Then head over to prairiestreet.co to shop for your next big meal.